Hi, my name is Ryan Miller, president here at Wolf Industries, Inc. First off, I want to say thank you for purchasing a twice as sharp scissors sharpener. I hope the following instructional session is informative and easy to follow. If you should have any questions, please feel free to call us at 1-800-888-3832, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. We have technicians standing by who will be happy to answer any of your questions. If you work for a company as a full-time sharpener, or you are planning on starting a full or part-time sharpening business, you may want to consider our hands-on training class. Our classes are held one-on-one with the instructor to ensure you get the most value for your time. Please give us a call to reserve your spot. Over the years, Wolf Industries has always strived to push the scissors and sharpening industry forward by innovating with the twice as sharp scissors sharpener. Our current model, used in this video, has a few features not found on previous models, but the steps to sharpen scissors are the same, no matter the model of twice as sharp. Once you've completed this course, you will be ready to sharpen professionally, so grab your operator's manual and your equipment and enjoy this comprehensive training session.
Hey, my name is Caleb Sneed, and I will be your instructor throughout this course. First, we're going to look at what is included in the box with your twice as sharp and how to get it set up and ready to use. Open the box and unfold these flaps to remove the machine. Notice the wheels are already installed on the sharpener. These wheels are installed and balanced in our factory and have been hand tested before shipping. Remove the plastic and then cut these zip ties that are around the arm to remove the bubble wrap and gain access to the arm. Also in the box is this bag of accessories. We'll get into what each of these is used for later, but right now we need this Allen wrench. Use this wrench to loosen the bolt in the arm so that you can swing the arm into the sharpening position. Allow it to slide down into the slot and then tighten the screw down. When we do this in the factory for balance testing, we use approximately 13 pounds of pressure. This is hard to estimate by hand, so we will set this on a drill and tighten until the drill clicks. If you don't have a drill handy, you can use the included Allen wrench and just tighten it by hand. Now look in the box for the included eye shields. It's important that the equipment is up to OSHA safety standards, so you want to make sure that these eye shields are installed before operating the equipment. Grab the 4 Phillips head screws and 4 nuts. These will be used to install the shields to the post here. Make sure you're installing the post in the correct configuration. Also, don't over tighten these because you don't want to crack the plexiglass. Next, grab the remaining 2 bolts and 2 washers. These will mount the eye shields to the housing of the machine. I'm using a 10mm ratcheting wrench to install these, but any 10mm wrench will work. Before you tighten these down completely, grab your clamp and insert into the arm. We want to make sure there is clearance so the clamp can swing freely below the eye shields. Once you have them in place, go ahead and tighten down. Next, we're going to look at general information on the sharpener and the types of scissors that can be sharpened. Sharpening on the twice as sharp system is simple and easy. Scissors and shears are honed to be twice and even 4 times as sharp as new. You'll be able to sharpen all sizes, shapes, and styles of bevel edge scissors. The twice as sharp is available in a few different configurations. We have the standard, the industrial, and the professional. And the only difference between these configurations is the honing wheel that's included. Everything else is exactly the same. The standard honing wheel is great for home and sewing scissors and will provide a nice polish on your edge. The industrial wheel hones quickly and efficiently without the need for a shiny edge. This is designed for high volume sharpening. And the professional wheel has the most grit available and provides a highly polished, shiny edge for quality fabric scissors and pet grooming shears. This will also work for lower end barber and beauty scissors that have a beveled edge. Now, I went through all of that to say, no matter which honing wheel you have, the process of sharpening that we're teaching here is the same. This sharpening method is a repeatable process for creating consistent results, no matter the type of scissors you're sharpening. For this demonstration though, we will be using this 8-inch shear from Kai. And these are standard beveled shears. This is an example of a cross section of a pair of beveled scissors. The blades have been cut in half and we are looking at the ends. This here shows the opposed inclined plane on both blades that makes the 2 cutting edges. This angle here is the bevel that we will sharpen. Now before we get started, we will take a look at the safety elements to keep in mind when operating the equipment. Before we turn the Twice as Sharp on, we want to complete a safety checklist. Check that the eye shields are in place, all 4 finger guards are in place, and that the end covers are on the machine. Next, check the arm. You want to make sure that it swivels left and right smoothly and there is no excess vertical play in any of the joints. Check both wheels, make sure the faces of the wheels are smooth without any cracks or damage. Periodically check these items throughout the life of the machine. Later in this course, we will look at maintenance and how to fix some of these elements if they fail your safety check. Remember, do not operate the machine if it fails the safety check. Be smart and wear comfortable and safe clothing. That means no neckties, loose clothing, jewelry, etc. We recommend rolling up your sleeves and tying back your hair if you need to. You don't want to have anything that could get sucked into the wheels of the machine. Always wear safety glasses. We're dealing with grit and metal and need to protect ourselves. We've included a pair with the machine. Also, regular prescription glasses don't offer adequate protection. Always wear a protective dust mask. We're dealing with elements like stainless steel, aluminum oxide, and the like that will create a fine dust as we sharpen. You do not want to breathe this dust. We've included a dust mask with the machine. The Twice as Sharp also has dust ports on the back to connect to ventilation. We have different size collars available for purchase that connect to vac systems, as well as a dust collector cabinet built specifically for the Twice as Sharp. Lastly, I do need to say that after you've sharpened a pair of scissors, please don't test sharpness with your thumb or fingers. You just sharpened it, it will cut you. Please keep your fingers away from the cutting edge. Later in the course, we will look at a few different ways to test if your scissors are sharp. Next, we're going to look at inspecting the shears for damage. First off, you will want to have good lighting in your work area. Rotate the shear in the light, and the rounded over, dull areas of the cutting edge will reflect the light. You'll see these shiny areas along the cutting edge that indicate where the shear is dull. This is what we're looking for and what we want to remove. We also want to look for nicks or rough spots that have cut into the edge. To prepare the shear for sharpening and to knock back this damage, you'll want to use the included pink hone. Slide the pink hone from the pivot to the tip along the damaged blade. Be sure to keep the hone flat. You don't want to roll over the edge like this. Repeat this process until the hone slides smoothly. This process helps remove damage that has occurred on the inside of the blade. We're going to be sharpening on this side of the beveled edge, so the pink hone allows us to address this side of the blade. Next, we're going to look at how to find the angle of the bevel and how to clamp the scissors. The operator's manual included with your Twice as Sharp outlines various suggested angles for different types of scissors and materials. This is a great place to start when trying to figure out the angle of the scissors you want to sharpen. Included with your Twice as Sharp is an angle gauge. Place the flat ruler side of the gauge against the flat inside of the blade. Slide the arm down until it is sitting flush against the cutting edge. In this case, the shear is set at 35 degrees. Now we need to set that angle on our clamp. Loosen the screw here on the side of the upright bar. This allows the upright bar to slide up and down. Notice the degree etches on the upright bar. They are notched every 5 degrees from -5 to 55. Using the center line here between the upper and lower jaw pieces, we line up to 35 degrees and tighten the screw down. To start, place the clamp in the sharpen position. This is indicated by the word sharpen on the side of the upright bar. Notice hone right is upside down. If we flip the clamp over, hone right is now right side up and sharpen is upside down. This is the honing position. The easiest position to clamp the scissors in is in the sharpen position, so we're going to flip this back over. I stick my index finger out onto the back of the blade like this. This way I can feel the lower jaw of the clamp as I insert the scissors. This also helps give me more leverage and control. I want to follow the 1/4 rule. This is a 2-part rule. First, I want to place the blade in the clamp about 1/4 of the way down the blade from the tip. And second, I want to leave about 1/4 of an inch of the blade visible above the upper jaw. Then tighten the clamp down. To ensure a tight fit, turn the knob another 1/4 turn. The reason for this 1/4 rule is that if we clamp too far towards the middle, we will hit the side of the twice as sharp. And if we clamp with less than 1/4 of an inch visible, the lower jaw will hit the grinding wheel. Now to clamp smaller scissors, you can clamp on the handle like so, and in this case we ignore the 1/4 rule. The goal is to allow the wheel access to the entire length of the blade without the scissors hitting the housing of the twice as sharp. We're getting close to sharpening, but before we start, we want to do a scratch test to make sure that we have our angle set correctly. To do this, rest the scissors against the white sharpening wheel and rotate the wheel down to create scratch marks on the bevel. Remove the scissors and look at the scratch marks. The scratch should cover across the entire bevel from back to cutting edge. This shows that we have the correct angle and are ready to sharpen. If your scratch marks don't cover the entire bevel, make adjustments to the angle of the clamp until they do. Now we have our angle set and our scissors clamped. The next step is to start sharpening. Make sure your clamp is in the sharpen position as discussed in the last section. You want to see that the word sharpen is right side up on the clamp. Another way to look at it is that the handles are on the outside of the machine and the tips are in. Go ahead and turn on your twice as sharp. Using the left sharpening wheel, slide the blade slowly along the wheel from pivot to tip while maintaining a light, even pressure. Keep your blade as flat as possible against the face of the wheel and not on the sides of the wheel. The tip should not pass the left edge of the wheel. Release pressure when the tip is halfway across the face of the wheel. This will help prevent rounding the tips off. Repeat this motion until an even burr is formed and felt along the entire edge. Be careful not to over sharpen. If you feel a burr, you have a new edge. Release the shear and clamp the opposite blade. Be sure not to close the scissors during this step. Then sharpen this blade until a burr is formed. Once you can feel a burr down the entire edge, release the scissors. The next step is very important. We need to deburr the scissors. Don't close them yet. By sharpening both blades, we have just created a burr on the cutting edge of both blades. If we close the scissors now, the burrs will crunch down on each other and we will damage the new edge that we just created. To remove the burr, hold the scissors by the handle and using your thumb, spread the blades apart as you close the shear so the edges don't touch. Now firmly pinch the blades together as you open the scissors. This will pull the burr back. Repeat the spread to close, pinch to open process 3 to 4 times. Now you should be able to close the shear naturally without damaging the edge. Failure to do this step can ruin the good sharpening job you just did. Now the burr has been rolled up and over onto the bevel. When we hone the blades, it will knock the rest of that burr off as it polishes. Let's move on to honing the blades. Your scissors have been sharpened and deburred, so now we need to hone them. This is the step that will really make your scissors twice as sharp. Clamp the scissors in the sharpen position and flip the clamp over to the hone position. Hone right should be at the top of the clamp. Slide your scissors against the honing wheel from pivot to tip using slightly more pressure than you did to sharpen. This time, slide the blade from pivot to tip and back and forth until you can feel a light burr. The honing wheel is a compressed cloth wheel with abrasive mixed in to give it that nice polish. Because of that, this wheel is more forgiving than the white sharpening wheel and will not remove metal as quickly. It knocked off that sharpening burr we had, but now it's created a real fine burr from the polishing process. We need to remove that burr. Remove the scissors and cut slowly to remove the burr. You do not have to spread to close and pinch to open on this step. Just allow the scissors to close naturally and it will remove the burr. You should have an understanding of the material that the scissors will be cutting. And that's going to make a difference for the next step and whether you need to hone the second blade or not. For example, for slide cutting or food processing, repeat this step for the opposite blade. Hone until a light burr is formed, remove the shear and cut off the burr. You want both blades to have a nicely honed finish. For slippery materials such as silks or similar, only hone the finger blade. The coarser grind on the thumb blade will help hold the material and keep it from sliding in the cut. For a quick review, check for nicks on the inside of the blades and hone them away with the pink hone. Set the sharpening angle and do a scratch test. Sharpen from pivot to tip until a light burr is raised. Repeat for the other blade. To deburr, spread to close and pinch to open 3 or 4 times. Now hone one blade until a burr is formed, remove the scissors and cut off the burr. Hone the other blade if needed, remove and cut. The burr is money. Once you have a burr, you have a brand new edge. If you don't have a burr, you've not sharpened all the way to the cutting edge. Checking to make sure you have a burr and properly deburring is the most often skipped step of the whole process, and one that we would argue is the most important step of the process. So remember, for a sharpening burr, spread to close, pinch to open. And for a honing burr, hone and cut, hone and cut. Lastly, to finish the process, apply a drop of scissors lubricant on the pivot and blade and wipe any excess away. Do not use oil on scissors, as oil will trap particles in the pivot hardware and can bind it up. Our scissors lubricant is a wax-based lubricant suspended in alcohol. The alcohol will evaporate, leaving a smoothly operating pivot. Now that we've sharpened a pair of scissors, let's look at a few ways to test the sharpness. Once you have finished sharpening, you'll want to test the shears. For this, you'll use fabric, paper towel, or latex rubber, depending on how the scissors are used. We test industrial and fabric shears on 2 to 4 layers of double knit fabric. A well-honed pair of scissors can cut through 4, 8, 16, or even 32 layers of fabric. That's a pretty neat trick to show your customers after you sharpen their scissors. Pinkers and embroidery shears are tested on 1 to 2 layers of cotton or natural fabric. You don't want to use pinking shears on a stretchy material like the double knit. Barber shears should be tested on a single layer of tissue so that it cuts through cleanly without ragged edges. They should also cut without pushing or folding the tissue, and the tips should clear without snagging. Surgical shears should be tested on latex rubber. Again, the cut should be clean without snagging or pulling. Of course, never test for sharpness with the edge of your finger. A blade that can cut through 32 layers of fabric can easily slice you open. For other types of scissors, please refer to your operator's manual. So your scissors are sharp and you have successfully test cut. Next, let's look at reconditioning and balancing shears and any repair that they may need. Sometimes it will take more than sharpening to get a pair of scissors back to working condition. You may run across issues with the tips or balance of a pair of scissors. Some handy accessories to help with repair work are set screw pliers, a dual lens magnifier, brass hammer with anvil block, set adjusting tool, and a scissors press. If the tips catch during your test cut, then that usually means the tips are not fully crossing. If the tips do not meet on a plastic handle pair of scissors, try grinding a small amount of material away on the bumper of each handle. Remember, less is more, as you can always grind more away, but you can never add material back. To cross the tips on forged all-metal shears, use a brass hammer on an anvil block. Take it easy and make slight adjustments by tapping on the handle. You want to bend the metal just enough to get the tips to cross properly. If you use too much power, then you'll bend the handle too much and your tips will cross too far and create a cutting hazard. Please note this does not work with cast shears. Sometimes the length of the tips won't match up, or one or both become too pointy and become a stab hazard. You can close the tips and blunt them slightly on the sharpening wheel of the twice as sharp. Don't grind too much or put too much pressure into the wheel, and then you'll need to hone the back of the blade tips to remove the burr. Do each blade one at a time to reform the tips. Repeat your test cut and make sure the tips cut cleanly and don't catch. Now we want to take a look at set. This is an advanced technique that's going to take a lot of practice. A pair of scissor blades are kind of like a spring, and there is tension between the two blades. The set in scissors is what transfers the pivot hardware's tension down the length of the blades to the tip. That way there is consistent blade tension. If you hold the shear up to a light source, you'll see the light shine between the blades. Slowly open and close the blades and you should see a single point of contact run up and down the blades. If you see any flat areas or places where it doesn't touch, then you probably need to work on set. If the material overcomes the tension on the shears, it will spread the blades and fold. If you know that the blades are sharp and there's no blade damage, then you probably don't have enough set in your scissors. We recommend using the brass set adjusting tool. You find the dead or flat spot in your blade and place your blade into the tool right before the spot, and then just tweak the blade ever so slightly to get that spring tension back in the blade. Another tool that you can use is the scissors press that will add spring into the blade to help reestablish the set. This is another one of those less is more concepts. It's much easier to make small adjustments up to the point you need instead of blowing it out and having to try and fix it. Another element of proper function of the shear that may be causing issues is the scissors don't have enough proper tension. The pivot hardware tension needs to be tight enough to maintain proper tension down the blade. If the scissors are too loose, then the blades will spread open and fold the material. This is one of those things you're going to have to feel when you do your test cutting. You can also do what is called a free fall test, where you open the scissors and let one handle drop. If the handle drops all the way down into the closed position, then the pivot tension is too loose. On industrial shears like these, you don't want the handle to fall. A lot of times people will think that the looser the scissors are, the easier it will be to cut, but they're actually having to apply much more hand pressure to the cut, and they're making the job harder on themselves. You can adjust pivot tension with set screw pliers if the pivot hardware has a screw head. Using the pliers helps prevent damage to the screw head. This tool is ideal for grooming and beauty shears and smaller embroidery scissors. If the industrial shears have a lock nut, use the appropriately sized wrench to loosen or tighten the nut. Next, we're going to take a look at lefties and a few other types of scissors. Sometimes you will run across shears that are a bit different and will require a different technique to sharpen. We're going to take a look at a few examples here. On true left-hand shears, the blades are reversed. The thumb blade is on the right side of the finger blade. Also, please note that some plastic handle left-hand scissors are actually right-hand blades with a left handle. Those you can sharpen with a standard sharpening method. For true left-hand scissors, the method is slightly different. Flip the clamp into the hone position where the clamp says hone right facing up. Clamp the scissors with the handles to the left and tips facing to the right. Sharpen the blades and remove the burrs like you would with right-hand shears. Clamp your scissors in the same exact position and move to the honing wheel while flipping the elbow of the arm outwards. Hone the blades on the right-hand corner of the honing wheel. Finish by cutting the burr and repeating the process with the other blade. This is the process to follow if you're sharpening a lot of right-handed shears and only one or a few true left-hand shears. If you have to sharpen several true left shears, you can reverse the wheels. The clamp will be in the normal position, but you'll sharpen on the white sharpening wheel on the right side of the machine and hone on the honing wheel on the left side of the machine. For small embroidery shears, we will clamp on the handle. Flip the clamp into the honing position and hone the blade only. These are delicate scissors and usually do not require any sharpening on the sharpening wheel. Pinking shears are tough to sharpen, and a lot of times they have a hard time cutting, even brand new. Take a look at the teeth and you should notice a dark line running down the blades. This is called the lapping line. If the pinkers have been sharpened before and the lapping line is not visible, then these pinkers can't be sharpened and need to be replaced. Also, if it looks like someone attempted to sharpen in between the teeth with a file or something, or there are obvious nicks in the edge from hitting pins, then there's a good chance that the pinkers will just never work properly again and they should just be replaced. You're going to follow the normal sharpening method, but you're going to need to set your clamp between 0 and 5 degrees and be sure that the teeth face up when clamped. You can set the edge of the clamp against the back of the teeth for a secure hold. If there is no obvious damage and the lapping line is visible, then we can sharpen these. You won't be able to feel a burr on pinking shears, so just sharpen until you see a clean, new grind from the bottom to the top of every tooth. They should be sharp when you've got that new grind across the whole V-groove. A tip to see this is to take a Sharpie and color in all the teeth. This will help you see better during the scratch test that you have the correct angle and will help you determine that you have sharpened them completely when the Sharpie is gone from each tooth. Now proceed with the other blade and follow with the standard deburr process to spread to close, pinch to open. On pinking shears, we don't need to hone. Go ahead and test these on one layer of cotton knit. If they cut, then you're good to go. If not, repeat the sharpening process. Some peakers just aren't going to work well, so you'll have to determine how much time you are willing to spend trying to fix them. For curved grooming shears, when you clamp the scissors, one blade will curve down and around the wheel, and the other blade curves up and away from the wheel. This makes curved shears a little intimidating to sharpen, but with a couple tips, you'll realize that they aren't much harder than regular straight blades. Start off by taking a Sharpie and making a mark on the outside edge of the sharpening wheel. On the blade that curves up and away from the wheel, we want to make sure that it touches the wheel at the same point in the throat as the tip. Without loosening the clamp, make an adjustment laterally to the shear to get the tip to line up with the mark. Keep making adjustments until the throat and the tip both touch the mark. This ensures that your angle is consistent all the way down the blade. Once you have the shear lined up correctly, take your Sharpie and draw a box around the edge of the upper jaw on the clamp so that you can re-clamp in the exact same position. As you sharpen, make sure to pull the scissor out away from the machine so that you follow the arc of the blade. You also want to make sure that you sharpen on the outside edge to the center of the wheel. If you rotate into the inside edge of the wheel, it could cut into the blade. Now flip over to the other blade and line up to your mark again. Once set, draw the box around the clamp. Since the blade is curved down and around the machine, sharpen on the outside edge of the wheel because it will be really easy for the inside edge to cut into the blade. Finish by deburring with the spread to close, pinch to open method. For honing, clamp the blade back in where you drew your box. Do a quick scratch test on the honing wheel at the throat and the tip to make sure that the polish covers the entire bevel. If so, continue with the honing process and remember to be careful with the curve of the blade and to stay away from the inside edge of the honing wheel. Once you have your honing burr, remove the scissors and cut the burr off. When clamping the other blade, don't forget to scratch test at the throat and tip to make sure your polish covers the bevel. Continue honing while staying on the outside edge of the wheel, and don't forget to cut the burr off when finished. If the polish is not covering the grind lines on your bevel, all you have to do is move the handle up or down in the clamp and continue the scratch test until you see the polish covering the bevel from back to cutting edge. After honing, don't forget to clean the Sharpie off the shear with our scissors lubricant. For other types of specialty shears like thread snips or spring-loaded shears, be sure to take a look at our YouTube channel or give us a call. As we continue this training series, we're going to take a look at machine maintenance next. You want to make sure to keep your twice as sharp running in tip-top condition. We recommend wiping down or cleaning with compressed air at the end of every day to keep the dust buildup to a minimum. On the back of the twice as sharp are dust ports. We have circular collars available to make it easy to attach to your vacuum system. We also make a portable dust collector specifically for the twice as sharp. Stage 1 uses a cyclonic toroidal to catch most of the grinding dust in a pan, and Stage 2 is a MERV 8 filter that traps the remaining particles. The industrial casters make it easy to move around your shop, and it offers a couple different twice as sharp configurations. This system is easy to clean, easy to move, and helps keep your shop and lungs clean. Now on the twice as sharp, the motor bearings are sealed ball bearings, so you should never oil or lubricate them. Also, the arm bearings are self-lubricating, so all you have to do is brush off or blow off the grit as necessary. Never add oil to the arm bearings here. That's going to attract all the sharpening grit and bind up your arm joints. When you power up the machine, make sure it runs smooth and quiet. If you get a lot of rattle, it may be time to replace the bearings. For that, just give us a call and we will get you a repair quote on the machine if it's outside of warranty. As your wheel wears, it may become uneven. If you find that your scissors bounce or chatter more than normal against the wheel, then it's time to dress the wheel. Using the dressing block included with your twice as sharp, or a T-bar like this one, brace one end against a finger guard for support and rub the tool back and forth against the face of the wheel as it spins. Make sure you keep moving and don't stop in one place. You could end up cutting a groove into the wheel. Be careful with the T-bar if you use it on the sharpening wheel. Use very light pressure as it can grind away the stone pretty quickly. You can also use the handle on the T-bar to test if the face of the wheel is smooth. If it still bounces a lot, then work on dressing the wheel more. The same concept applies to the honing wheel. The honing wheel will start to turn black as it loads up with patina. And that's a good thing, and it will help your hone, but it will eventually get to be too much and you will need to clean and redress the honing wheel with the T-bar. You will eventually use up the wheels and you're going to need to change them. Remove these 3 screws on the wheel covers to take the covers off. Repeat this step for the other side. Use a 3/4 inch wrench to remove the nut. On the left side with the sharpening wheel, the nut is reverse thread, so take note of that. It loosens clockwise. Remove the wheel flange and take the wheel off. On the sharpening side here, make sure that the blue flange is always against the machine like this. It is machined specifically for this spot, and a regular wheel flange could compromise the operation of the twice as sharp. If you're swapping your wheels for true left-hand shears, make sure the blue flange follows the white sharpening wheel and is placed against the inside of the machine. Put your new wheel on and make sure the label is facing out. Replace the flange and tighten the nut. Rotate the wheels by hand and make sure there isn't too much side-to-side movement. If there is, loosen the nut, rotate the wheel on the shaft, and retighten. Keep doing this until you have the least amount of side-to-side movement. Now go ahead and tighten the nut and replace your side covers. We balance all the twice as sharps before we ship them, but then we have to move the arm for shipping. When balancing in the factory, we use approximately 13 pounds of pressure to secure the arm. We set this on a drill as it lets us know when we've hit 13 pounds. This is what we recommend when you replace the arm with a new one. If you don't have a drill that can do this, just use a hex wrench and get a good tight, secure hold on the arm. And when we use the term balance in regards to the arm, we're talking about where the cutting edge of the shear touches the wheel. We want it to touch the honing wheel in the same place that it touches the sharpening wheel. An easy way to check balance is to take a shear and grind the new edge on the sharpening wheel, then take a Sharpie and color all the way down the bevel like this. Then flip over into the hone position and hone in 2 or 3 spots on the bevel. The honing wheel will take off the Sharpie and you can see if your hone covers the whole bevel or not. If you're just honing right on the cutting edge, you need to lower the arm some. If you're only hitting the top of the bevel and not getting to the cutting edge, then you need to raise the arm. Your twice as sharp comes with a few extra washers that all have different widths, so experiment with different combinations of the washers to raise or lower the arm. And this is the process that you're going to use when you have to balance a replacement arm. If you run into any issues, please give us a call. We have technicians standing by to help you with your questions. You've made it to the end of the Twice as Sharp training course. If you apply the techniques taught in these sessions, you'll be able to sharpen scissors consistently and professionally. We thank you again for choosing the Twice as Sharp and hope you have many years of success using this equipment. Don't forget to consult the manual that's included with the machine. It covers other topics like sharpening chisels, carbides, and more. It also has a section about converting the sharpener from 110 volt to 220 volt power, and it has a pretty comprehensive list of all the various scissor types that you may see. It also has all the part numbers that you'll need for replacement parts and accessories. Enjoy your new equipment, and don't forget that we are here for you for support in any way that we can. Our number is 1-800-888-3832, and we are available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. You can visit us at wolfindustries.com or shoot us an email at customerservice@wolfind.com.